Hey everybody, it's Greg from Park Journey here. So I hadn't really planned on doing a video or anything this week about anything. We did, obviously had a lot of Halloween updates and things this week, and I've been pretty crazy busy with work. So I didn't plan on doing really much of anything as far as the site is concerned today, other than some stuff that we had already have ready to go. But then the results of the investigation into the death of the 6-year-old little girl at Glenwood Caverns came out today. And I kind of wanted to share some thoughts of that as a parent, as a fan of theme parks, as a fan of this park, as a fan of Glenwood Caverns. But first, obviously, our thoughts are with the family of this little girl. Absolutely tragic. Obviously, whenever we hear about the death of a child, it's something that hits close to home to everybody, especially if you're a parent. But as fans of theme parks, it even hurts even closer to home because we love these places so much, and it's just it's sad when something like this happens at a park. And obviously, for the most part, I was not commenting on this until we actually saw, the report. There was a lot of speculation going on. There was even some articles that came out a couple of days ago about lists, of violations and accidents at this park that have not really been reported. And I didn't even want to comment on that because I felt that, until the investigation was done, I didn't want to actually, comment on any of it. Unfortunately, this accident was 100% avoidable. So I'm going to open up the article just so I make sure that I get my facts straight here. So basically, the ruling was that the ride operators did not secure the seat belts. That's what the report says. So Wongo Estefanos of Colorado Springs died of multiple blunt force injuries. She fell 110 feet. She was visiting the park while with her family over Labor Day. State investigation into the girl's death found that she was sitting on top of 2 seatbelts. She did not have the seatbelts fastened over her body. The ride operators did not secure them. The seatbelts were still locked together when she got in her seat. So the seatbelts were previously unoccupied, which means that nobody was riding before, nobody opened the seatbelts. She just sat down. 2 operators were working the ride, and both were hired within the last 2 months. On top of that, an alarm told the operators there was a problem on the ride, but they were not trained enough to know what to do or what not to do. So they basically just reset the system and launched the ride. Of course, the Parks PR is saying safety is and always has been our top priority, but I'm sorry. And then the article kind of talks about a little bit more about the ride itself, which I'm not going to get into. And then there's a GoFundMe for the little girl and her family. So, I kind of count like at least 3 or 4 things wrong with this entire scenario. I don't want to put blame on, the parents or anything. I mean, they're grieving, but I will say, when our kids were, that age, we would always, make sure their seatbelts were secured when we would ride things like Tower of Terror, even roller coasters. We did trips to different parks when they were younger, 6, 8 years old. Always, would make sure. But again, we're experienced theme park people. It's not, it's up to the park. I mean, just, put it bluntly here. But again, there's, a lot of things that went wrong here that didn't need to. The second part is, when a ride vehicle comes up and before you load the next, group, you should be unlocking all the seatbelts. You should be checking the seatbelts. If there's no, like at somebody mentioned on Twitter, at Disney, they say, pull the yellow tab. Is there nothing like that in this ride? I haven't ridden it. I haven't been to this park since 2014, so I'm not sure if there's even anything like this, like the yellow tab on that. But I think the biggest issue I have is there was an alarm. You have these two ride-ups that have been hired for less than 2 months, and somehow they have the ability to override an alarm that they don't know what it is. The article even said they didn't know what the alarm was, but they could override it. So they weren't trained enough to recognize the alarm, but they were trained enough to override it. And I'm a corporate trainer. I train people on computer systems. I don't train people on amusement park rides that need safety procedures. And I would never, ever send somebody out to work at my company without being properly trained. And it's not a life or death situation. So there's something weird there. You know, I was on, trying to think what, I was at Magic Mountain, I think, or maybe even Universal. I think it was probably Magic Mountain, though, a couple weeks ago. And there was, oh yeah, it was Full Throttle. And, you know, there was a warning came out, and they had to call, oh no, I'm sorry, it was West Coast Racers, before it'd been closed for a while. But anyway, I regress. There was, you know, some kind of alarm went off, and they had to call maintenance to come and reset the alarm. You know, the ride-ups can't do it, and I know that that's Six Flags policy. I know that's the policy of a lot of things, a lot of parks. Whether it's a maintenance person or a supervisor, you know, a ride-up can't just reset or ignore a warning. So that's a huge issue, obviously, with what happened. Ride-up should not be able to reset an alarm, A, if they don't know what it is, and B, even if they do know what it is, they should still have to call somebody else to reset it. You know, and this is a rather small park, but there's no excuse to, you know, override safety. No, it shouldn't happen. This should not have happened. You know, again, you know, things like this happened in the past. You know, sometimes you can say it was, you know, the restraints of somebody who might not have been able, you know, shouldn't have been able to fit on the ride. You know, things like that. People squirm their ways out of it. You know, and you know, but this one, there's no defending this. And if that means that Glenwood Caverns doesn't like us anymore, and yeah, oh well. But there's no defense for this at all. It's negligent, possibly criminally negligent, on both the park and the ride-ups. And I'm sure the ride-ups feel terrible. No doubt in my mind they feel absolutely terrible. My question is, were they trained to bypass this error if they saw it and continue with the ride's operation? Now, the other thing I will say is it doesn't really say what the error was. It doesn't say if the error was because of the seatbelt was, you know, under them instead of over them. It doesn't say what that error was, but I'm assuming that that's probably what the error was. So from what I can tell, the ride's safety mechanisms actually worked correctly. This was 100% user error by these ride-ups. I don't think that a ride like this should be manned by two people that have not worked there for 2 months. You need to have some experience on these things. I get that 2021 is a weird year for a lot of things, for amusement parks and for Halloween events and for everything. Then don't open the ride. If you don't have enough people with experience to run the ride, then don't open the ride. Because this is what happens. And it was, like I said, it was completely preventable. It shouldn't have happened. And it just, again, as a parent, I mean, my kids are grown now, but as a parent, I can't even imagine. We were planning on going to Glenwood Caverns next year, but there was another article that came out a couple of days ago, as I mentioned, that kind of outlined some other safety violations through the years of this park. And if you haven't been to this park, a lot of their attractions are kind of like on cliffs to kind of add that extra element of fear. You know, they have a sky scream or a scream and swing that basically goes over a cliff. I've ridden it. And that ride is scary as hell. Without even the, as AJ said on our Facebook page, that ride is scary as hell without the added element of, am I secured in this ride? You know, fortunately, this doesn't seem to happen very often. Maybe every few years. Rides are still extremely safe. One of the safest things that we can do. There's always going to be exceptions. This, it shouldn't have happened. Now they are supposed to be opening up a new coaster next year. I hate to say it, if I was Gerstlauer, I would be thinking twice about selling Glenwood Caverns, one of my coasters right now. If there's no training going on, if there's a history of accidents and things like that at the park, I'm sorry. I wouldn't want my brand associated with a park that maybe, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I just wanted to share some thoughts on it. Again, completely, it's sad. No other way around it. I feel terrible for the family. And the story, this is not the end of the story. I'm sure there's going to be lawsuits and there's going to be all kinds of stuff going on. But yeah, I wanted to share some thoughts. I know that a lot of you are sharing thoughts on our Facebook and Twitter. This, again, as fans of theme parks, this stuff hits close to home. None of us go to a theme park expecting to have something like this happen or see something like this happen. We go there and have a good time. It's supposed to be an escape from stuff like this. But anyway, take care of each other. Be good people. All right, we'll talk to you next time.